We're live already? It's so exciting! Hello, everyone, fans of D20 Live. You may have noticed a sudden schedule change. I'm trying to look at you all from my camera angle down here. That is because, well, for the first time since the whole 2020 fiasco happened, we finally had to do a reschedule. And I think we maintained a hell of a streak.
Yeah.
So,
oh, wait, hang on. Are we on sub?
Hello.
Tonberry.
There's a Tonberry.
So, our special guest today, instead of just me and Sam doing our normal chatty thing, we have the wonderful Jordan, who is our moderator and a member of our Tales from Everin team, as well as our game master, Dr. Tarawat.
Oh, hello. Hey, everybody.
Appropriate applause.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I think we're all doing awesome. I think we've done excellently. I think we're wonderful, fantastical people, and I'm so glad that we're all here.
Then I'll get restreamed.
Okay. So Sam's setting up the restream chat right now, so you guys can say as much as you can without ticking off our moderators. Tomberry is on the usual bot snipe hunt. But
So is Jack.
So is Jack. And Facebook
wonderful.
and all of our moderators are here today because I think we were expecting an Everin stream. We apologize. Yeah. First time something has come up that has...
That's okay. The deadly pandemic that's ravaging the planet, as it turns out, has finally reached us here in the land of Everin.
Yeah.
So we were postponing our game to another time, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
So today we're just going to do ourselves a little craft check. We're going to sit down. We're going to be building some cool models and talking about cool stuff. And I can just sort of ramble about my process up to this point.
I would love to hear it. I'm going to crack open my boy.
We're determined.
And I realized I talked over Jordan saying hello, and I apologize, Jordan.
It's okay. I interject a lot, so it's okay.
It was still fucking shit at me, and I apologize.
Apology accepted.
Thank you. Not Jordan, but you know.
I accept apologies on behalf of Jordan.
On proxy of him, as you're now his manager.
He has my power of attorney.
Does he? What goes on over there when you guys stream at Evil Incorporated? Fuck.
Talking estimate about that one. He does all
that's right. Here at Evil Incorporated and Sons.
Such things are legally binding.
Evil and evil at law.
So, Doc,
ladies and gentlemen, my client, as you will see,
nothing wrong ever,
is such a wonderful fellow and did not receive a moment to say hello.
Enraged and upset. I'm mostly enraged.
This is a slight that can only be cured with ice cream. Ben & Jerry's Cherry Garcia.
It's on the computer. General assets.
Is all good.
All right. Sorry, I had to throw an announcement.
I do accept the payment of ice cream.
Sorry, Simvor Fusa, if that is you. Unfortunately, due to COVID disaster problems, everyone's fine, by the way. We had to reschedule session. You will get the announcement later this week for where the true season finale of Everin will be. But it's become a craft check now where we will talk about Everin and all the fun stuff that happened. Literally just kind of happened at the last minute. So we do apologize for that.
Yeah, it's all good.
These things do happen, unfortunately, but we are able to roll forward and still provide quality content for the lot of you.
Yeah. We're very witty over here at D20 Live. As I tried to build a War Greymon because I'm perpetually a 90s kid. How the fuck do your wings go in War Greymon?
Anyway, so this is a good chance for people to talk about and ask questions about the Tales from Everend
Mm-hmm.
Series, anything else that could be related to D20 Live. We're open to questions, fanfic possibilities.
Ooh. Wait,
Uh,
fanfic and possibilities, or fanfic possibilities?
fanfic possibility.
Ooh.
Things of that nature. So it's sort of like a behind the scenes kind of stream where we can kind of discuss whatever it is that people want to talk about. So I think it'd be a great idea.
I think so too.
I think it'd be cool.
Think of it as like a panel from a convention sort of thing.
Yeah.
As it turns out, Shiro is a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
As it turns out, that weird clown goblin that keeps making our lives a living hell is actually low-key Tzinch from the Warhammer universe.
Oh,
and
fucking Tzinch.
that's going to get revealed later.
Siege.
I'm so...
Did I mispronounce it?
So fucking hyped for Total War Warhammer 3 when that comes out on Steam. I'm so fucking hyped for it.
I've already bought it. Like,
if nothing else than just to like hammer the shit out of demons.
Jack, can you please write something on the YouTube chat so that way I know it's working, please?
I've already purchased it, so I mean,
oh, that's dope.
I like as soon as they're like, "Hey, you can buy this now," I'm like, "Yep, done."
Got it.
Sold. Take my money.
That.
Because there's no future in which I'm not playing that game.
So agree.
It all came in now. Thank you.
All right.
Hello,
everybody. Welcome to our cult of personality. So, Doc, when you initially approached us at D20 Live for your Tales from Everend game, how has it deviated from what you initially thought it was going to be in terms of like tone?
In terms of tone,
yeah.
I would say truly it hasn't really deviated that much. I was really determined to put just a game together that was like, this is just going to be your standard, like, you know, bog standard fantasy game. We're going to get together. We're going to play this. It's going to be fun. Like, there's going to be a mixture, at least like a lot of the D&D games that I run, I like having a mixture of like serious tones and then joking times as well, because with the existence of one allows the other to punch harder.
Yeah.
Like every horror story starts off with a white picket fence for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't start with a white picket fence, you have nowhere to go from there, or at least the places you have to go in order to escalate become more and more difficult. And then by virtue of that, a lot of the horror films will also end in a similar way. They'll finish with a white picket fence or with everybody surviving, and then there'll be like, oh, you know, maybe a teaser or something at the end of it. But with action and drama in your tabletop games, you need to have moments where comedy is allowed to happen, where people are allowed to laugh and they feel comfortable in doing so. If you don't let players do that, then they will try to make levity for themselves where possible. Mm-hmm. So I like having funny joke characters that exist in my fantasy games, because that way then players don't start trying to turn serious characters and NPCs that they run into jokes, because those characters already exist.
Okay.
That's a solid move, actually. I dig that.
Yeah, like people will just attempt to make jokes out of anyone they run into if they get the ability to do that. Like, so...
Well, it's a tension-breaking tactic, isn't it?
Yeah, like that's the biggest thing people will do to alleviate tension, and that is to make jokes.
Okay.
They'll try to laugh it off, and that's fine. I don't have anything wrong with that. I think that's a perfectly normal and perfectly reasonable reaction to a lot of scary shit going on. But at the same time, you gotta play that up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much agree. Saying that for years. Whoa.
Yeah, but then at the same time, if all of your characters are silly and goofy, then, you know, you don't have the option to really have a moment that is serious. And also, like, with the players that you're bringing in, you need to make sure that you sort of like stack your deck in such a way that it makes sense for people. So, like, if I'm bringing a lot of people to the table that are silly, then, you know, it's going to make sense that that's what people want. Or that's what the player wants.
So, Jordan, what was your biggest surprise? What was your big unexpected? Well, actually, then I'll repeat the question for Jordan. For this stream, where did you see it initially going tonally, and compared to where it ended up?
I saw it going exactly where it went. I saw like a level of seriousness, and then some interesting characters that turn out to be a little bit more jokey as we go through them, because I think I have a pretty good feel on how Doc rolls with his games at this point. Having seen a couple of his game streams and like picking up the tone from those, I expected something very similar to that.
Yeah,
and that's definitely what we got. And so I appreciate the level of seriousness there, because as much as I do love our D20 live games and how wacky and crazy they can be, you know, sometimes a man just wants to roleplay, right? So
yeah.
Peeps can get goofy if they want. They can be serious if they want. I think that also I pretty early on, because there's a lot of players have that sort of inner shit disturber where they will be like, oh, we're playing ourselves a fun game. Cool. I'm going to try to poop on the first guard that I see. And I go, okay, roll. And people go, what do you mean? And I go, no, roll for that. Like, here, no, like, do this and roll this stat, and then you're going to go to jail because actions have consequences. Like, I'm not saying you can't do silly things or have fun or have a fun time, but, like, I always make sure to, at some point early on, reinforce with players that actions have consequences. Like, in one of my games, I had a player who really wasn't sure if they wanted to be there or not, was playing like a familiar for one of the other characters who was a warlock, and was like a little fairy dragon. They can turn invisible, and they're like, you know, small cat-sized creatures. And it was like, yeah, I'm going to turn invisible and fly into this alchemist's shop. And I was like, okay, so you do that. And they go, what's he doing? It's like, oh, well, he's mixing something in like a mortar and pestle. And they go, cool, I'm going to like go and eat some of it. And I go, yeah, roll Constitution.
Yeah.
They went, okay, and they rolled Constitution, and I went, cool, you die. And they're like, what the fuck do you mean? I'm like, he was mixing deadly poisons from a mushroom that makes you shit yourself to death. You shit yourself to death suddenly, coming into view in front of him and dropping your invisibility, and then you die. And then I turn to the player who plays the warlock, and I go, you are going to need to reperform that spell to summon your familiar back into existence.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't like a permanent death kind of thing. It was a slap on the wrist, really.
And I let that happen by basically knowing that this character could just, with the expenditure of a bit of money and time and resources, just be resummoned in.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going to be a permanent death, but I was like I always absolutely prescribe to the fuck around and find out kind of playing style, that like you can absolutely do whatever it is that you like, but understand that actions have consequences, and that if you goof off and act shitty, then the world will react to your behavior. Inversely, if you behave in a way that's like heroic and good, and you save people, and you're selfless and stuff like that, the world will react in that way. Like, people will see you as a selfless hero if that's how you behave and that's how you present yourself.
Yeah, I feel like there's a really idiotic narrative that sometimes game masters get into their head, that they're writing a story and not a game.
Yeah.
And how the world has to react. And I very much agree with that philosophy of how much the player sets the tone and how their interactions ultimately set the tone for the game, right?
Yeah. Like, as much as games like Mass Effect used to beat you about the head with that kind of thing, like, you do good things, you get good stuff, do bad things, then you get bad stuff. Especially with like Mass Effect, like the BioWare games in general, I still liked the idea that your actions had consequences in the world, that if you behaved well, then people saw you that way. And if you, like, your actions affect things. So it felt nice. You weren't just a hero from the get-go, like, say, Breath of the Wild. You weren't just like exiting the cave, the fucking hero of the land, and you needed to go and do your job. Like, saving the land for Link in Breath of the Wild was the bar. Like, that was his expectation. That wasn't him going above and beyond. That wasn't him doing anything special. At least not in my mind.
Well, it was hard as hell.
Oh yeah, no, he has to defeat a giant angry cloud. Are you kidding me? And he's in pants, like when he like he wakes up in his underpants and he has to go defeat an angry storm of hatred. Like it's not a small feat, but it's still the expectation of his existence is to do that job. So and one of the people, like a lot of people that play fantasy games, a lot of people that play role-playing games in general, like want to live that no consequence fantasy of I do good things happen.
Yeah.
Like, because that's really not something people see in reality.
Well, it's I have a fundamental belief, and it's something I've spoken with actual psychologists, and they've actually verified this. If you allow people the experience of tabletop, the belief that they can change the world, right? The brain codes that mentally, that they can do so in the real world. Because tabletop experiences, like on an emotional level, not on a recognition level, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Are indistinct, like role-playing experiences are kind of indistinct from real-world experiences. On an emotional cortex level. Like, obviously, I'm saying people know the difference between fantasy and reality.
Of course.
As intelligent people. But going through these instances is actually a kind of therapy for people.
Yeah.
Because their brain is building up the tolerances and the capacity.
Well, exactly. It's like, hey, welcome to this fantasy world where if you help people, they'll thank you for it.
Yeah.
Like, and not in a way that's unreasonable or ridiculous, but like they're nice. And like Calendros is saying in the chat, like, I find it disappointing how many people find consequences for their shitty actions unacceptable. Well, yeah, because those are players who want to have that no consequence fantasy of just fucking up stuff and then not, having any consequences to their actions.
Yeah.
And actually, SMW for USB, never let the players run amok, especially if they're just trying to buck the storyline. Honestly, if I'm the DM and none of my players are interested in what's going on, then after that session, I need to reconfigure where it is that players want to go. Like, I like to build a lot of, especially with the digital tabletop with systems like Roll20. I have the option of changing the setting and changing music and stuff like that pretty often. Whenever I'm starting a new game, that's always the biggest hurdle for me because I set up a lot of different scenes and music and characters and stuff from the back of my head to be like, okay, this is what I want my players to do. Here's the story that I'd like to tell with them. But if halfway through that session, I can tell that they have absolutely no fucking interest in doing that, then I need to kind of be like, okay, well then what do you guys want to do? Like, what are your characters doing right now? And if they're like, we're going to go on a panty raid, or like, we're going to fucking get together and we're going to plan a heist for the local bank in this town, I go, dope. All right, so let's sit down. What are you guys gonna do to like case the joint? Like, what are you guys gonna do for that? Cool. Okay, that's the end of this session. Next session, I'm gonna start like building for them that heist. Because if they want to do Ocean's 11 when I'm trying to do Lord of the Rings, that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
But so if they want to do Ocean's 11, cool. I'm going to do Fantasy Ocean's 11 for you then. Like next game, I'm going to come back and I'm going to have all that shit laid out for you. It's going to be Payday 2 D&D edition. Like,
Well, Payday and Ocean's
cool
2 are two very tonally different heists as well.
Well, exactly. Like it depends on how they want to go. Like, do you want to go high stealth? Do you want to go in loud? Like, what are your plans for this, right? And then again, like, how would the city reasonably defend their giant vaults of gold where the city keeps its money? Like, would they have a lot of magical defenses on that? Would they have like guards that are armed with powerful magic items in order to keep all that money safe? And like, reasonably, how big is this town? Like, how much money do you think that they would invest in defending this huge pile of gold? How much gold is in there? And then you stat that out as the DM and give them a reasonable experience to that. To be like, if they're a bunch of level 1 players and they're like, I'm going to go to the capital of this nation and try to rob their bank, it's like, go for it. And then put all of them in jail when they ultimately fail that mission. And now the game's about breaking out of jail. Cool. Now this is fucking Jailbreak D&D edition. like there's always cool stories to tell. It's just I want to make sure that the players are invested in what's going on.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I want to help them tell the story that they want to tell. As much as I want to sit down and tell Lord of the Rings, if nobody wants to watch like if a bunch of people come over to my house to watch a movie and I want to watch Lord of the Rings, but everybody else wants to watch like Captain America or something, like I'm not gonna make everyone watch that. Like in my opinion, a DM's job is not to like rope players into doing a specific story. It's to like set a stage and be like, okay, what do you guys want to do? Like, here's the world, and here's kind of what I want to go with. What are your predilections for that? Like, how do you guys want to do this? And if everybody abandons the storyline and goes in a different direction, like as the DM, I have to kind of within reason sort of follow them on that. Easiest way to get players to not do that though is to make them care about what's going on.
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest reasons players will abandon whatever the fuck it is that you're doing is because they don't give a shit. Like they don't care about what's happening and they leave because they're not tied to whatever's going on. So I go, cool. Perfect example is I was like, all right, I built a world in general and then had everybody come up with characters.
Yeah.
We had Mike came up with an assassin. Cool. Part of an Assassin's Guild thing that he escaped from. Neat. Love that. Quinn the Vivacious, cool, survived like an awful thing that happened with her family died and now she travels as a bard. Awesome. Jordan's character is like a half-elf paladin who kind of works like a secret agent, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like kind of travels around and solves problems for people using his strength, but without like outwardly being like, yeah, the church, huzzah.
Yeah.
And then a traveling barbarian woman who got away from the snake people cultists and was raised by half-orc barbarian chads. It's like perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
First story, 3 of you guys are I was just like, we'll just say you guys know each other already, you've traveled together. You need a 4th to do a job. So they hire Mike's character out of prison because Mike was like, I want to start off in jail. Yeah, and I said, yeah, absolutely do that. Like that doesn't go crazy off the rails for me. I can incorporate that. And then the second we got started with the story, it was these people get off here. The party is together, and you're given a mission to go down into the catacombs to find like a cultist disturbance that's been going on down there.
Mhm.
Why does Jordan's character care about this?
Cultists are bad.
Because yeah, he's a paladin, cultists are bad, and his motivation is protecting the innocent and keeping the town safe. Cultists under the town violates that, so he's interested in going down there. Why is Quinn the Vivacious interested in doing this?
Wait, was
mostly on like paper, it was money.
Mostly it was money, and then she found out that it was actually the cult that killed her family, so she's like, shit. And then also
exactly.
Her brother is still alive, which is double shit.
So that was that was a big hook that I placed at the end of the second episode, being like, yeah, you get down there and you fight these guys. I think that was the first episode. I can't really remember.
First episode.
It was, yeah, you get down there and you fight these guys, and then you see the image of your brother in a big magic mirror. So it's like, cool, you have that, but like on the way down, Quinn's doing this because the cult that is supposedly down there is the same people that murdered her family. So she has a vested interest in this. The barbarian, Ariel, sorry, I was like, I know she's named after the Little Mermaid, and I can't remember the name of that person. Ariel wants to go down there because this used to be the cult that she was raised by as a child. Yeah. So, like, she has a vested interest in fucking these people over because she left those people because she doesn't like the things that they do. And then last but not least, our Matthias, our assassin, wants to go down there and deal with these people because at the end of the day, he gets paid, and that means he gets to be out from underneath the thumb of the government. He gets to be free. So starting off, everyone cares about doing this mission. Like, everyone has a reason to be here.
Although I think it was clear that Matthias was actually, as he was going on, actually was just very lonely and wanted friends.
That did kind of, that was a really touch that you put into the character, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, because it was something, Sam had me reading this book called Audition by, I cannot remember the author's name.
Michael something.
Yeah, where it was about the subtext of characters. And one of the big points was, characters usually lie about what they actually want, right?
Sure.
So one thing I wanted to do, I wanted to try and take this very atypical trash rogue that I always used to play and give him some depth because he needed it. If this was going to be a longer than a one-shot shenanigans kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing was, okay, what does he think he wants? Well, he thinks he wants parole so he can have his freedom back. Does he actually want that? No, he's lonely. Because I didn't want to do the atypical edgy story of I was an assassin and now I'm alone kind of thing, right?
Well, exactly.
I was raised by super assassins and all that. I did not want to hit those notes with Matthias. I wanted to hit the notes of no. He left his abuse, what he called his equivalent of an abusive family. What he deep down wants is the affection he never got. He's just too scared to get it. Right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And
well, no, exactly. And I like that you had multiple motivations here, that like here was this character who prizes their freedom above everything else.
Yeah.
And was like, well, on top of that, I also like want to make friends. And, I did this thing to give like a big fuck you to the previous, assassins organization that I was a part of and ended up in jail. Now I have like a magical ankle bracelet that I need to figure out. But it's like, cool, the easiest way to do this, like not hitting two birds with one stone, join this group of adventurers and go on adventures and pay off your debt. Yeah. You make friends and you get to be free at the end of this whole thing.
Except now I'm wanted again.
Well, I mean, everybody's wanted at this point. All of you guys are considered criminals. But this is, part of the climax of what's going on. Steve actually also makes a really good point in the chat that it's important to ask questions as players during character creation. Like, if you sit down at the table and go, like, for session 0, we're going to be playing a fantasy campaign. You guys are going to be starting off in like a human in place, like the human kingdom. What kind of characters do you want to play? Like Steve says, Mikolash, the warmongering barbarian who wants glory in combat and to slaughter the weak, does not achieve his goals in a party that has their quest to achieve political subterfuge.
Yeah.
Like, no. If it's going to be a campaign that's like your bog standard, going into dungeons, getting gold, like it's easy to make characters for that kind of stuff. But if it's looking like, no, this is going to be a campaign that takes place entirely in one city, and is all about political subterfuge and like, a lot of role playing and a lot of skill checks with regards to like charisma and shit like that, then making a really heavy combat focused character might not see you getting a lot of attention or a lot of sort of like spotlight time in that campaign. If you're okay with that, awesome. But if you really want to like get invested and be involved, it's gonna be really hard for you to do that if you're having trouble with that. Like if you're playing a character that doesn't fit. If we're playing 5th edition D&D and we're in a fantasy setting and you show up and say, I want to play a stormtrooper, it's like, okay, well, no, you can't do that. Like, try to be reasonable and like fit within the setting. Or characters are people want a lot of shit, and their needs to coincide with what they have as presented by the plot and character conflict. Yeah. Not even just mechanically, but role-playing wise too. Yeah, why are you achieving these goals? That's a big thing I've seen a lot of players run into, where they're like, I don't know what to do with my character. Like, I don't know, like, why is my character here? And it's like, okay, well, yeah, like you want your character to give a shit about the current quests and stuff that are going on. Really, the DM should be assisting you with that. But if you want to come up with your own reasons for that as a player, that's totally fine. The biggest and easiest motivator for any character is money. Hands down. Like, why are they here? They like money. Okay, cool. Are they getting paid for doing any of this stuff? Sure. Dope. Then they're here for money. Like, fuck, I had to explain this to a player like years ago. I was playing with like 3 other people, the DM and 2 other players, and we were going into a dungeon, and it was like a fighter, a wizard, and a rogue. And the guy that was playing the rogue was like, yeah, but my character is like lawful evil and like is just here to like kill people and get money. And it's like, yes, but you're not an idiot. Like, you understand that the other members of your party that you're traveling with right now are your meal ticket. At the end of the day, they are the people that are going to be getting you paid and bringing you to places where you can kill people. So you will help them, despite the fact you have opposing alignments.
Plus, alignment doesn't necessarily... Alignment, and this is the big argument always about alignment, alignment does not dictate personality.
Nope.
Someone
Not at
can
all.
be completely lawfully evil, but be incredibly charming or incredibly have the value of friendship, because friendship is a part of structure and structure is a part of society, right?
Yeah.
That
Like
can
lawful
Yep.
lets you participating in a party very well, regardless of what the rest of it is.
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
lawful, evil, lawful, neutral, whatever. Lawful means you pay attention to the rules, whether
Or
you
at the
know,
very least, you're rules oriented. Like you have a code of some regard.
yeah.
Well,
And I've made lawful evil characters, and I've been able to role play in a party with them rather well, because yes, you may be more inclined towards evil actions, but not every action you do is going to be an evil one.
well,
Mhm.
the best
It means that you're more inclined to being a shitty person.
Yeah.
the best example I actually heard for lawful evil actually came from Sam when she told me that back in old D&D, lawful evil characters as they leveled up actually became the heads of crime cartels,
Yeah.
which
And
I
a lot of
thought,
people would argue that like crime cartels aren't necessarily bad and that a lot of societies actually require them at a certain size.
yeah, I well,
That
I'm Italian and I have my own arguments about that, but
Well, exactly. Like, but that's just it. Like, crime cartels exist for
yeah,
a reason. And it's usually because the government's too big and a lot of people get lost between the cracks. And there's a lot of money to be made in the spaces where, eyes don't drift and that's just what happens from societies one to another on occasion. So in many cases, crime cartels really pick up the little guy and help out the average people on the bottom making money doing things that rich high society people who have no idea what it's like living on the streets lose sight of. And that's that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? But it's
well,
still lawful evil.
well, because of the fact that a lot of them run on exploitive practices and stuff, but
Mhm.
it's perfectly viable to say that it's I think it's really worth it for characters to explore the idea that while morally, yeah, they're a lawful evil character and inherently they're bringing violence into the world,
Yeah.
there is a nuance to the idea that every person you meet who may in fact be evil isn't a mustachio twirling choke puppy kind of person. Evil
Yeah.
takes many forms, and that's part of the challenge of real life, is determining what is
Yeah.
inherently someone's evil worse than their character.
Well, exactly. Like good and evil, much of the time is notions that we prescribe to things. That what is good to one person can very easily be evil to another. Like Steve was saying, like your character is a collection of motivations and biases and wants and needs and flaws and defects and whatnot. The mechanics of your character is just the vehicle that drives those things. He was saying a lawful evil character I played in a while ago was a conquest paladin who adventured with a good party for fame and fortune so that he could rally a banner to create an army for the domination of a land that wronged him. And I think that's perfectly plausible. Like, yeah, you can go and save people and protect the innocent and do all this stuff as long as he's getting paid at the end of the day and as long as he can use that glory and fame and money to exact his revenge. Like that's lawful evil. Like like that's how that plays out at the end of the day. And he did good things for people to make friends to gain allies. Like good people do good things because they're supposed to or because those things are good or for their own reasons. Like evil people can do good things for bad reasons. Like that's just how that plays out. Shadowcrone saying, Mike, I like what you said. Or was it Doc? Yeah, you're not an idiot. I like using that when people want to play evil characters. Yeah, you're not stupid. Like you you know that the people in your party are your like meal ticket. They will help you get what you want. So why would you like you're just like, but I'm evil and they're good, so I should want to kill them. Like, no, that's chaotic evil. That's monsters. Like monsters just kill things. Like don't be stupid.
That's the thing. Like people are like, I want to be the worst. The people who are like, I want to be chaotic neutral and do whatever I want. Okay, I loathe that alignment more than I loathe evil, because at least if someone's evil, you know what to expect.
Yeah.
I say that as someone who frequently plays chaotic you say that and I'm someone who frequently plays chaotic neutral characters.
And I bite my tongue every time.
Yeah. Evil
Like,
characters
let him do it. Let him do it.
Things
It's Mike.
for
He will
themselves.
make it not shit.
Well, exactly. And like I have no trouble with like there's a common example that I give to people when they're like, I want to play an evil character. I go, okay, but understand that a lot of the other people in this party are not playing evil characters, so you might have yourself at a disadvantage for certain situations. I always tell the story of like when some friends of mine were playing D&D, their party was 2 lawful good monks and a lawful good paladin. And he wanted to come in the game as a chaotic evil vampire necromancer. And they said, obviously, this is what's going on at the table. Are you sure you want to play this character? You might not obviously jive with the party. And he was like, no, I got it. It's fine. I'm totally going to go in. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. And they were like, okay. And he literally, like, they're sitting around a fire at night, like getting ready to go to bed. Buddy steps in out of the darkness and goes, hello. And immediately the paladin looks to him and goes, detect good evil. And they're like, oh yeah, you absolutely detect this person as evil. You detect necromancy and like all this other shit. And he's like, cool. We immediately, all of us kill him. Like the 2 monks like rush him, wombo combo, like just punch. One of them punches him up into the air, to which the paladin like throws his hammer at him, teleports to his hammer midair, and like spikes him into the ground. In 1 round, they annihilate this character. And then that player had the fucking audacity to be like, what the hell, guys? You just killed my guy. That was really shitty of you. Why'd you do that?
We sure did.
Yeah, and it's like, are you for real? Like, is that really what... Are you fucking serious right now? Like, what's wrong with you? Don't be an idiot. Like, Jesus.
Like,
God.
We killed my guy. Like, yeah, we sure did.
Yes, we did, because like it's like that scene from Men in Black where it's just like, you shot him in the head. It's just like, I warned him. You warned him. Like, like, why are you surprised that happened? I said I was gonna go in here and shoot him in the head, and then I did. Like, like God, it blows my mind that players legitimately get like mad at situations like that. It's like, if you set up these dominoes and then like tip the first one and they all fall over, like, you, in my opinion, have no right whatsoever being surprised or being mad. Like, you walked into this. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's not even a surprise that this happened. Like, we all told you this was going to happen if you did this, and then you did. Like, this wasn't even fuck around and find out. This was like, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Like, and well, exactly, Steve. Like, if you're playing a campaign like the one that I'm running over on my channel, which is mostly monster creatures, like, anyone can come along and be like, I want to play a lawful good paladin human person that's traveling around with all of these monsters, some of whom are undead and cast necromancy. And I'm going to go, okay, but this is what you're walking into. Understand that in order for you to maintain your position as this lawful good paladin, you're going to need to convince me and like the players and just in general, like, why it is that you're still able to do this. Like, why you wouldn't just pick up your hammer and smash these people. Like, how are you going to jive with this party, and how's that going to affect you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's kind of up to the player. You have to mesh with the party. Like, you're playing a game where these characters would be participating with this party for a reason. Like, you can't just make whatever you want. Like, not all the time, unless you have a really good way of justifying it by being like, okay, so I'm a paladin, but not of this, but like in a different fashion, where you're not a paladin of a god or of like good or evil or whatever, but like you stand for a certain aspects of like chivalry or whatever the case is. Like,
or you're a prisoner.
Or you're a prisoner or something like that.
And you're on work release and you've come to learn. You have severe doubts over what your church is doing, and you're going through those themes.
And that's exactly it. Is I was just be like, okay, you can play a lawful good